Hi everyone, I'm Rachel. In this tutorial, I'll teach you how to color a fantasy moon using the Color Therapy app. Instead of coloring the moon in tones of gray, why not create an otherworldly moon by using unconventional colors? To find this image, search for moon. So here's a super neat example of an otherworldly moon. It looks like the artist used a lot of watercolor, and then there's some craters here that they did with white. And they used some tones of purple, blue, orange, and white. So I'm not sure the artist on this, but I really like this, and I'm going to use it as a reference. So the first thing you want to do is start off with the base color. So I'm going to use this cream color under the Hair Shades palette. Set that to solid, and just go ahead and tap to fill in the moon. Now go under the dark shades palette. There's a dark purple and then a dark burgundy color on the top row that we'll use. So start off with one of those colors. I'll start off with the burgundy and now select the splatter tool. So start off with size at 100 and the opacity pretty low, about 13% or so. And then turn coloring inside the lines mode 2 on. Start off with your first layer and you can kind of just spray in some of the color, and I'm sort of focusing just in a few areas at a time with the color. I'm going to switch over to that dark purple now and just color it into one little section on the moon here and maybe up here too. I'm just making layers. I'm also letting the splatters go in the lines as well as outside of the lines too. And then I might switch over to a dark blue on the top row of that same palette and just continue to add more sections and details into the layers. And then pop over to the pastel palette and choose maybe an orange color on the bottom row and just add a few more little layers here and there. You can also use the brighter purple in the dark shades palette just for some brighter purple areas. And then go and select the airbrush tool. Set the size all the way at 100 and the opacity about 40%. Using those same colors, just add in some little areas here into the moon. So we're doing the same thing again, just continuing to add more layers. And then for your last layer of color, I would use white. So go back to the splatter tool and raise the opacity about 55%. And then go ahead and just add in a few little dots for some craters. And I'm sort of focusing just on one area here or there, just a few dots here and there. Now what you want to do is start to define the craters. So let's do that using white. This time, let's start with the airbrush tool, set the opacity about 75 and the size down to 12. Zooming into an area where you want to do a big crater with a starburst coming out, just draw a circle and then just draw a few little starbursts coming outward from that in all directions. Then lower the size down to 1% and set coloring inside the lines mode 2 off. Now you want to just draw lines coming outward from that crater. Make some of them longer and some of them shorter, just going across the moonscape. You can also lower the opacity a bit too and add a few more little lines coming out from it. Now lower the opacity about 20. You can keep the size the same, and then in the pastel palette, use the first color there and just draw a circle around your starburst. And that's how you do a crater. So let's do a few more smaller detail craters now. Using that dark blue again let's use the airbrush tool at size 1% and opacity at 45 again. And choose one of your white splatters that you have here, or any splatter really. You're just gonna draw a circle around it and a couple little layers there so it starts to define it. And you can use these settings for larger craters. And then to further add detail, just use the pen tool and set the size at 1 and opacity at 60. Using the base moon color that we had, just draw a circle within the blue area that we created. And then for even smaller craters, just raise the opacity to 100 and zooming in, just draw little half circles around them like that. So it just kind of defines them even more. And they don't have to be white splatters, they can also be other colors too. So you could do a red one or orange one as well. And lastly, to create a few more little starburst craters, just lower the opacity down to 75 with the pen tool. Just draw a little circle and then draw a little tiny starburst coming out from that circle. Finish the moon by adding more craters and color the foreground and background in dark tones to create a silhouette. If you'd like to see more tutorials like this, don't forget to subscribe to the Color Therapy YouTube channel so you don't miss any new tutorial videos. Thanks for watching our tutorial. You can get the Color Therapy app for free on the App Store.